they shapeshift to beat you in so many different ways. Like, you mentioned old Depot Bill and the big night he had with 23 points, celebrating at the end of the game. Well, sometimes it's Duncan Robinson going off for 8 3-pointers. Sometimes it's Max Strus and dribble handoff action. Sometimes it's Tyler Hero, high pick and roll isolation. Sometimes it's Butler downhill attacks. Sometimes it's Bam. It's always somebody different on this Miami roster. And I mean, that's the way I think about them and why they were the number 1 seed in the East, is because they were something different at every single stage of the season. And within a series, you could see all of those different personalities against this Philly defense. And I mean, that's why I would pick Miami in the series. If you get at least Butler at healthy. Lowry, I'm less concerned about, but they need Butler in the series against Philadelphia. But if they have him, again, they can beat you in so many different ways.
But who they are at this stage in the season is a team that just put the absolute clamps on Trae Young for an entire series, even in a closeout game without 2 of their best defenders.
And I forgot to talk about that on my podcast that I did Tuesday night with Harrell Bob. By the end of it, Trae was like a boxer who had been knocked down 5 times and was just being carried out of the ring. That was unbelievable. Did that change your opinion on Trae Young at all? Or is that just bad matchup, bad series, not enough help?
It changed my opinion a bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
I think with Trae, it brought back some of the pre-draft concerns. How does he create against massive amounts of length? How effective can he be defensively? What does he bring to the floor other than his scoring and playmaking? But can he do it off ball? The answer was no, oftentimes in that game. Like if you look at Atlanta's roster, I think Trae should be so much better than he is off ball when you have Kevin Huerter, when you have Bogdanovich. Granted, in that game he didn't play, but throughout the season, like Trae, if you're Trae Young, why would you lean into to your inner Harden instead of your inner Steph? Like I just think he should be so much more dynamic off ball as a cutter, off screens and handoffs than he's been. And if I'm him, like that's the number 1 focus for me in the offseason is becoming a guy who's a constant threat on the floor instead of somebody who is a bystander when the ball's not in my hands. That's the biggest flaw in Trae's game, in my opinion, and the most solvable issue that he has.
And it really comes out in games like that, just the lack of secondary creation, the lack of another guy who can help generate offense especially when Bogdanovich isn't out there. Some of that is the roster. Some of that is the players they have. Some of it is a lack of investment in the guys they do have. Like in an alternate timeline, could John Collins have become that guy? Maybe, but because of his health this season and because they put him on kind of a different developmental path, he's become really reliant on Trae. All of these guys have. And so while I love the minutes they got out of like Darrell Wright as their backup point guard and kind of what he gives them, it's just not what they need. He needs a Jalen Brunson in the way that Luka has gotten one.
Oh, interesting.
You can be a dominant creator, but you need somebody to help share that workload with you.
Well, that's fair. The Hunter game and just Hunter in general. Now, he's also their biggest trade chip if they really wanted to upgrade and get Trae like a true famous second star. I really like Hunter. To me that I don't want to say anyone's untouchable who hasn't like made an all-star team, but I just like that guy. I think their goal should be, can we turn all these other pieces and some future picks into a third guy with Trae and Hunter? But I thought the Trae thing was alarming. The thing that was the most disturbing, I think, was that he lost his swagger, which I wasn't expecting. I thought at the very least, he's like one of those old gunslingers who would go down fighting every time.
That relates to my thought though, Bill, because he lost his swagger because he couldn't offer anything else when it was taken away from him on ball. This season, during the regular season, he ran only 24 plays off of screens. Trae Young, people talk about him as one of the best shooters in basketball. Steph took 256 possessions off of screens. Clay had 180. But Bojan Bogdanovich had 157. Jason Tatum had 154, just to throw some high numbers out there. Like Trae at 24 with his shooting ability.
Yeah,
if he doesn't have it on ball, you got to give him something else where he can still be a factor for you. And that's both on the coaching staff, on McMillan and their staff, but also on Trae. Like he's got to buy in and embrace that role. Cause then if the swagger's gone on ball, then you can do it off ball. Like that to me is, I'm baffled how he doesn't have that in his game yet.
And so we think Miami for that series? Rob seems like he thinks Philly. I think Philly won you over tonight, Rob.
I mean, Embiid looks good. And for everything I said about, Jimmy Butler working mismatches, Harden's going to have his crack at Tyler Hero, at Duncan Robinson, at those guys. Like
100%.
There's a lot of give and take to this series. I think I would lean Heat slightly, but I don't feel super confident about it.
I think the key will be is if Philly falls behind, Doc Rivers has to do another press conference where he debunks all of his bad coaching moments one by one. Go look at that. Go on Basketball Reference and go look at that Magic roster. Go look at the minutes Darryl Armstrong played.
Yeah, we're talking about the roster that had Tracy McGrady on it, right? Like 32 point a game, Tracy McGrady, right. That one?
Go look at... Oh, I couldn't believe he did that. And by the way, he just kind of glossed over the last one. And then he's like, but it wasn't the bubble. Like, I loved it so much. Oh, my God.